Welcome to the She Suite Society, a community where women from all backgrounds come together to share their stories, support one another, and reveal the unfiltered reality of our lives. I'm your host, Dahlia, and this podcast exists to give voice and space to women whose experiences might otherwise go unheard. Today, I'm sitting down with my neighbor, Jessica Miner, whose journey perfectly illustrates that there's no single path to success. Jessica is a custom cabinetry business owner who went from studying political science and dreaming of saving the world to law school, to corporate sourcing, to working in her family's industrial supply business, and finally to creating stunning custom cabinets that ship across the country. What makes Jessica's story so compelling isn't just the career pivots. It's how she's built a business that's as much about relationships as it is about craftsmanship. She's someone who becomes friends with her clients, who turns side projects into thriving enterprises, and who's discovered that sometimes the most quote-unquote boring family businesses can teach you everything you need to know about entrepreneurship. Whether you're questioning your current path, considering a side business, or wondering if it's too late to pursue what you're passionate about, this conversation offers both practical wisdom and the reminder that confidence often comes with time, sometimes decades.
So I own a custom cabinetry company.
I knew that part. That's the cool part.
What are the other?
I don't know.
What do I do on a daily basis? My day looks different every day. I have this custom cabinetry company. I came to have this custom cabinetry company through, I don't even want to say trial and error necessarily, but working in the construction industry, the home remodeling industry, which I started doing about 8 to 9 years ago when I stepped away from working in corporate America as a sourcing analyst, which I think kind of played well because sourcing with cabinetry materials for building, that's kind of what I transitioned into, as well as being a part of the process of remodeling. So currently I own a custom cabinetry company. My days are different every day. I work with customers who are building new builds. I work with customers who are remodeling current spaces. And I am a designer as well as providing the cabinetry. So a lot of clients start with either bringing in the design to me and we build the cabinets based on the design they already have, or they come to me because they have, gotten the word of mouth through a friend, or they've seen, my post on Instagram, or they've seen work that I've done I do a lot of spec houses with builders. So a house being sold and they come to me that way and they want me to design their space.
Well, you're so good at it though. I know they can't see your house here, but you did your whole kitchen, your whole living room.
Yes, I have cabinets in many rooms in my house and there will be more. I love to.
But they're really good.
Thank
you
you.
have an eye, your detail. That's the design part.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not a designer by training. It's interesting because I studied political science in school and I always thought I was going to be a lawyer.
Didn't we all?
Which I think a lot of people did. And it's so funny because when I thought about my upbringing, I'm actually the daughter and the granddaughter and the great granddaughter of entrepreneurs. So my dad's entire side of the family, all they did was own businesses. And my dad owned the business once my grandfather passed. It was passed down from his grandfather. And I actually worked for the company as well. So it was 4 generations working for the business.
Wow.
And it's funny thinking about growing up. I remember career day and you talk about what your parents did. And I had friends whose parents were firefighters and doctors and lawyers. And I always was I don't want to say embarrassed. I wasn't embarrassed. Obviously, I was super proud of my dad. He had a very successful business, but it was so not interesting. Oh, what does your dad do? He's a business owner. And I didn't really they sold industrial supplies and cutting tools. And when you're 7, 8 years old in elementary school, no one knows. You don't even really know what that is. And you probably know more than what other kids know. So I always thought, when I grow up, I'm going to be a veterinarian or I'm going to be a lawyer, and something that when I go to career day for my kids is super exciting. And you come to find out what I do, I think is more exciting than any corporate job or being a lawyer could ever be. And I tried, and I don't blame my dad. He didn't really, he talked to us about business and finance and things like that, but we didn't really know the core of what he did. And I always try to talk to my girls about what I do. They know I make cabinets and they know that I work with customers and they know that I do design. And I want them to be excited about that. And I want them, if they own a business someday, to be proud of that.
Yeah. And to
So,
be clear on, there's not one right way. There's so many different paths you can take and show what it looks like behind one of those doors.
100%. And I always say leaving corporate America was the best decision I ever made. And if I had to sell my house and move into a smaller house or just downsize my life to continue to do what I do, if I had ever had to like face that choice,
Yeah.
I would do it. Not to own my own business.
How did you end up in corporate America?
Well, so I went to Ohio State and I studied political science. I think I was like in that I'm going to save the world and I'm going to change the world mode at that time. And I really enjoyed what I studied. Going back, I always was interested in interior design, but I never really had the confidence. I just kept saying things to myself, oh, you can't draw well, or, oh, you don't have experience doing this, or that's not really a career. I was always having negative self-talk to myself about what I could do. And so I settled on political science. And I think it was a good choice looking back because it was something that I enjoyed and I was good at it. I was good at reading and writing and I was good at debating and all of those things. So it just felt natural and it didn't feel wrong. But I graduated in 2009 from college during the Great Recession.
Yes.
I was one of those, literally. And I actually had a job when I graduated. So I had been working as an intern for a political campaign and they hired me during the recession. So it was like, it paid like $30,000 a year. It wasn't like this.
Still was a job.
Yeah, it was a job. And I was able to afford my rent and food. And I was just living my life. I was single and it was great. And I worked that job for a couple of years and it was an election cycle. So once the election cycle ended, I continued because my candidate got elected, I was a fundraising person. I continued fundraising. And I just was like, this is not really where I see myself. So I applied to law school and I got into law school. And it's funny because I really never quit anything in my life, maybe other than gymnastics as a kid, but I got into law school and I was in the first semester and I loved school. I loved learning. Felt right back in my element. But they started talking about the path, right? Because law school is only 3 years long. So almost immediately they start talking about what do you want to specialize in? What are the paths? What do you think you're going to do when you graduate? And I could just not picture myself in any of the roles and jobs that they were talking about. I just couldn't. I don't know. I think the choice to go to law school felt like the next right step for like a career in politics. And then I just did it without really putting probably enough thought into it.
Because it's what you felt like you were supposed to.
It's what I felt like I was supposed to do. It felt like the next step. And it was
not right for you.
Yes. And to be fair, it was a recession. So everybody felt super urgent to do something to further themselves because the job market wasn't great.
Right.
And if you have a degree in political science, of course, corporate jobs will hire you, right? Sales, logistics, supply chain, things like that, right? Because you don't really necessarily have to have a specialized degree for those jobs.
Right.
But I just didn't feel like I was in the right place in law school. So I decided to leave and it was still coming out of the recession. So I just asked my dad if I could come work for him. And the rule was always, you can come work for the family business if you go to college and get your degree. So I did that. So I was like, he's like, I'll hire you. I'll teach you to do what I do. So that started about, I was there for over 5 years. And I enjoyed it. It wasn't sexy. It was cutting tools, industrial supplies. It wasn't really my interest, but I enjoyed working with my dad. I was learning a lot about being a business owner from him. And it's funny because at that time, I was not thinking about having my own business at all, but it felt like he was kind of grooming me to take over his job. But what I really think he was doing was just grooming me to think like an owner, no matter what the job was. His goal was, if she doesn't stay at this business, I want to teach her everything she needs to know to be an owner or be a boss or whatever.
What did your mom do?
My mom's a therapist. So totally opposite. But the interesting thing about my mom is my mom got her master's degree when we were kids, right around the time my parents divorced. And she never got her license to practice until about 5 or 6 years ago. So she was always kind of working like corporate jobs. You know, my mom was really good at sales. And so she was kind of always doing that. Just kind of not bouncing around a ton, but she was working in banking. So she worked for like Bank One, she worked for PNC, she worked for National City before it was PNC. And she never really enjoyed what she was doing, but I think she felt like I'm raising kids. I can't really make a career change. So, once we were all out of the house and out of college, she decided to get her license. And actually just like a month ago, she got her independent license. So she's been a therapist for 5 years now. She's had her degree for like 25 years. And now she has an independent license. So she's practicing independently as a therapist. So, and it's funny because
You can never be too old.
That's the really cool thing is like, I did this. I can't really like credit my mom because I kind of did this before she did that. But I think like, going, like seeing your mom, like go to grad school. And then, I think it inspires me every day still, even though I kind of started this business before she did that. And maybe I kind of inspired her a little bit. But I think, I feel like I definitely have parents who go for it. My mom is a daughter of entrepreneurs as well. My grandfather had a children's clothing store growing up that I actually worked at. He had like multiple locations around the city. And I worked there when I was in middle school and high school. And
that is so cool.
Yeah.
So you just are from a family of go-getters, which
I would say
you a go-getter.
Yeah.
Unconventional in thought.
And I think like so much of business is risk. And when you've seen people take risks, you are more likely to take risks than when like you kind of see people maybe like play it safe. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people, we're all built differently. Right. But yeah, when my dad not only had the business that he got inherited from his father, who his father started the business. My dad also started a manufacturing company in 1996 with a few business partners. And that was actually, they sold the businesses last year. And that was actually the business that sold for like much more. So, I knew he started that business and I knew what it took to start that business. And then getting to work for him, I saw even, closer, like balance sheets and, profits and losses and things like that. So
you knew the ins and outs of it all.
I did. Yeah. So
if you could do anything over again, would you change anything?
I don't think so. The only thing I think I would maybe change, but I worry if I changed it, it wouldn't have led me to this, is maybe studying design in school. I don't really necessarily feel like I'm at a disadvantage. I feel like, I do really, really well for what I do. I mean, I design cabinetry. I don't, pick people's like rugs and couches and, all of that. Maybe. Thank you. Well, that's a huge compliment. But I always tell people I don't have the degree to do that. I'm not an interior designer.
Some people are just born with that talent, and you're one of those people.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very sweet. But I think if I could go back and have that background, I think it could be helpful. I think I do well with the cabinetry. I think I do well with what I do, but then I sometimes wish I could offer more to my clients. And I feel like I wish I had more of a background to do that.
What would you offer?
Just more design services. Yeah. Like I think just through doing, I could probably eventually offer that even without the schooling.
That you could.
But I think
a lot of AI for that.
Yeah, that's true. AI is amazing. I love all my AI tools. But yeah, I just, I think I wish I could go back and tell my former self, hey, just have the confidence and go for it. And I think, some people have that at a young age. Some people develop it. I feel like I more developed it and I came into that confidence in my 30s versus like my 20s or my teens.
Some people take some few more years. For me, it was in the 40s.
Yeah. I mean, well, like with my mom, it was in her 60s. My mom did not have the confidence. I mean, that was the biggest thing for her. She got this degree. She graduated summa cum laude with a 4 or magna cum laude with a 4.0. It's not like she didn't do well. And she just didn't have the confidence to take the test. And it took her 25 years to do it. And she did it at 60.
Yeah. It's okay. Right?
Yeah. And she's having her second career at 60. And now she's an independently licensed therapist at 65. It's like sometimes they're 64, but just sometimes
what do you think your kids think about business, seeing their grandparents do all sorts of different things?
It's funny. I started my first business making necklaces with my friends in high school. Literally, like we saw the styles that they were wearing on like the teen TV shows, and we decided to start making them. And my daughter is 13 and she has a nail business. She's like a
Really?
super talented nail artist. I mean, she like, I've seen the stuff she does on my other daughter is she'll go to like the salon and get them like done, you know, with the licensed, you know, like professional person. And my daughter's art's like 1,000 times better. And I know I'm biased, but I mean, she's really is a talented nail artist. And she has her friends paying her to do her nails. So she started her first business at 13. So, and I definitely think seeing that in your family, you know, they know that their grandfather owned a business that he's retiring and he just sold. They know that I own my own business. My husband owns his own business. You know, I think it's a really cool thing to be able to show our kids, even if they don't end up being business owners themselves, understanding business and understanding, you know, entrepreneurship, I think can be, you know, valuable for anything in life. Yeah.
So, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I spend time with my family. We have a lake cottage and we have a boat. So we love to like, you know, spend time there in the summer and go boating. Love to travel. I'm obsessed with travel. My like goal in life is to go to Europe every year, you know, and nothing fancy. I always say like, my friends are like, how do you guys afford to go to Europe all the time? And I'm like, my Europe trip is cheaper than your Disney trip.
Yeah, probably.
Like I literally, I mean, I'm like, you tell me how much you spent for your family of 4 to spend 5 days in Disney. And I'll tell you what it costs for my family of 4 to spend 2 weeks in Europe. I guarantee you it's less.
It is probably.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not wrong.
And we love going to like the smaller little places and renting little houses, and we like living like locals and eating at the little local restaurants. And we took our kids overseas for the first time. Last year we went to Portugal for spring break. And I mean, literally it was so fun. And we in Spain as well. And, you know, I love seeing that through their eyes.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Gahanna.
Okay. So here.
Yeah. In Central Ohio. Yeah.
And how many siblings do you have?
I have 2.
Older, younger?
I'm the oldest. I'm like the classic older sibling.
Are you?
I think so. Yeah. I think my siblings and I fit our roles very well. I have 2 younger brothers. I have a brother who's 18 months younger. Him and his wife live in California. And actually both my brothers live in Southern California. And then my one brother has a son. So I have a nephew. And then my other brother and his girlfriend.
How did they end up over there?
They both really want to be in the film industry, still trying to be in the film industry. My youngest brother works for The Voice, the show The Voice. Yeah. And then my other brother started his own COVID testing business, did very well during COVID, like very, very, very well. And him and his wife have a 1-year-old. So they've been not working since he was born. And he's trying to figure out his next move. I'm trying to get that brother and his wife and baby to move back. And I want them to work for me with my business, but we'll see. That's kind of a pipe dream. And
you would want to work with them.
Yeah, with my brother. And I mean, his wife would do, you know, she stays at home with their son, but she would do some things as well. Yeah, I just think there's a real opportunity in what I do with the cabinets. There's a huge demand for custom cabinetry. I think, you know, HGTV has been around for a while, but I think how Instagram and Pinterest and just social media and AI and everything has blown up to the point where people aren't just thinking about like their kitchen and their bathroom. They're not thinking about just like, oh, let's just, you know, cabinets aren't just like function. It's art in your home. It's beauty. It's, you know, it's an expression of self. And I think that is a lot different than maybe, you know, 10 to 20, 30 years ago, where maybe people were, you know, thinking about a space like a kitchen for just function. True. And then maybe picking a color they like, but not thinking about the cabinets as art or design.
Yeah. And that's a fair thought.
Yeah. So I think what I do, I mean, I'm very busy, so I know people are responding to it, but you know, and I don't advertise at all. I mean, I advertise free advertising. You know, I use Instagram, Facebook. I'll post and, you know, design groups about my cabinets, but I don't pay for any advertising. So, you know, what I tell my brother is, hey, you come out here, we'll start paying for advertising and you can, you know, grow from there. Yeah.
That's really cool.
So yeah, just an idea. I mean, it's more for him than me. Just because, you know, I'm happy with what I'm doing and I don't necessarily feel the need to grow. I like working with a small number of customers and clients per year. I don't want to like overload myself. I want to be able to be there for my customers through the design process and even after.
Yeah.
You know, I have customers that'll call me back and, say, oh, can you, we love the cabinets. Can you help me with like a paint color that you think would coordinate, or, things like that. I don't want to be so busy that, I just kind of drop off when people are finished, buying their
that
cabinets.
type of person. Like, well, you're not even that type of person.
Yeah, no. And I'm not. I mean, people, they can't get rid of me. Once you hire me to make your cabinets, like I'm your friend for like, I mean, literally I text with so many of my clients. They really do become like my friends.
Yeah.
And it's nice.
You strike me as a relationship builder that happens to also have this huge specialty that you're really good at, that you're helping them, but really it's also about the relationship.
I definitely think I'm a relationship builder. I work with a lot of the same people over and over again. I have a lot of builders that I work with. I have a lot of developers that I work with. I have a lot of designers that I work with, and I work with those same people over and over again. Sometimes, it's for a project for them, like a spec home. Sometimes it's a customer that they have, and I'm working with them via their customer to bring the design to life.
Yeah, but then goes word of mouth.
So I'm working with a lot of former customers' family. I'm working with one of my former customers' moms right now. I'm working with another former customer's best friend. 2 of her other best friends have asked me to quote things. I'm working with a builder that I did 3 homes with last year. I'm doing 5 this year. I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
And we ship all over the country. So I'm working with people I've had 2 customers this year in the Bay Area of San Francisco. I have customers in Chicago, DC area, New York, right outside New York City, Florida, mostly like big market cities I found, but I did an entire house in Hope, Indiana this year, which is like a town of like 800 people.
Don't even know where that is.
Yeah, it's like a 2 stoplight town, I think, in Indiana. Actually, I didn't go on the delivery, but the customer's really excited about the cabinets. And once she gets the hardware on and the countertops, she really wants me to come. And my daughter's best friend moved to Chicago. Actually, the people that lived in your house previously, they moved to Chicago.
Which is the best city.
Yeah. So I told her, because she was like, please come. I really want you to see everything installed. So I said, well, I need to take my daughter to Chicago. Hope, Indiana happens to be just a little bit out of the way on the way to Chicago. So we're going to stop, and that'll be really fun. I've never met her in person. And that's the thing. Like, I really feel like I know my clients. We do a ton of Zooms. We talk on the phone, we text. And sometimes I'm working with people for 8 months and we've never met face to face. But I think that's a really cool thing about how technology works in today's society, is like I can really become close with a client and really work closely with them to make their kind of kitchen or bathroom or whatever room I'm working on dreams come true. And I've never met them face to face.
That's my favorite part.
It's super cool.
Now, some people lean into that. I've met a lot of other people that are just so tired of Zooms and Teams. And I'm like, what is
really?
wrong with you? That's my thought. Well, I feel the same way as you do. I'm like, I don't feel any difference. I actually still feel very close to a bunch of people.
I do too. It's so funny. Yeah, I do too. Sometimes the first time I've ever met my clients is like at their delivery. Sometimes if I have like a bigger project, I just want to make sure like everything gets off the truck well and just to coordinate. And sometimes I'm meeting my customers for the first time at that delivery. We'll like give each other a big hug, like, oh my God, it's so great. We're finally meeting. We've talked, we spent, 50 hours on Zooms together or whatever. So
my favorite is the thing that always seems to shock me, and I feel like most people, is how tall or short people are.
Oh,
you can't see that through this. That's like the one thing
that happened to me. I have a client and I think he's like 6'8". He's very tall. Yeah. And not that I didn't picture him tall. I don't really think about how tall people are.
Nobody thinks
But I remember we're like in passing and he's like, oh yeah, well I'm 6'8". And I'm like, wait, you're 6'8"? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really tall. Yeah. And he's like, yeah. He's like, did you not picture me tall? I'm like, honestly, I didn't really picture you short or tall. I kind of like picture people sitting down, right? Because like I'm on my computer Zoom, and you're on the Zoom, whatever. But
you never picture that.
Funny.
That's why it always baffles me. People now, I think they're used to at least that. So they try to warn you when you meet them in person. Like, I'm really tall. And like, good to know. I'm really short.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Right. We're coming close to time.
Okay.
And I like to end up every episode about the same, which is to ask you, what advice could you give or would you give to somebody listening to this? It could be life advice. It could be business advice. It could be any advice you think would women in our community would find helpful.
Yes. I would say have multiple streams of income. That is my biggest advice to women. I think men can obviously take that advice too, but as women, I think it's really difficult for us as the, mother, if you choose to be a mother, not everyone does, but if you choose to be a mother, being the mother in the family, I think it makes it harder on us. And I think having multiple streams of income and being able to turn to those streams of income at different points in your life. I always say, like, if you have an interest or you have an idea, start it as a side biz. Do a side biz. My side biz turned into like my real biz.
Your biz.
Yeah, my biz. And I could not be more grateful. And I don't know where it would be if that didn't happen. And I started this, I didn't really get to this in our conversation, but I started this as a flipping house side biz 9 years ago. And now it's a cabinetry business that, is making 10 times more than I ever dreamed of making. So I think your side biz can totally become your biz if, you just have the confidence to do it. And I think that can start as a second stream or a third stream of income. And it can be your main thing.
It could be your main thing.
Yeah.
That's really good advice.
Oh,
really, really good advice.
It took me to almost 40 to really totally understand that. I've heard people say that for years, and I didn't really totally get it. Like, how can you like be working at a job 40, 50 hours a week and like start something on the side? Like, who has time for that?
Yeah.
But when things are your passion, I think you make time for it. And again, I've given this advice so many times. I've given it to other friends. I've given it to neighbors. I've given it so many times. I see so many talented women in our society that should be doing the things they're talented at as a business who aren't.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's like either like a lack of confidence or it's feeling overwhelmed, like they don't have time. And I'm very fortunate. My husband is a very supportive spouse and does a lot around the house and, just with our kids and our life. And it just has enabled me for, this to kind of come to fruition. So.
I think that's so great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for spending time with us
Thank
today.
You so much. This was great. Super
What I love most about today's conversation with Jessica is how it dismantles the myth that you have to have it all figured out from the beginning. Her path from poli-sci to custom cabinetry isn't a failure to commit. It's a masterclass in staying open to opportunities and building on each experience. Her advice about multiple streams of income resonates deeply, especially for women juggling various responsibilities. The idea that a side business can become your main business isn't just entrepreneurial wisdom, it's about giving yourself permission to explore what lights you up, even when you're not sure where it will lead. I'm also struck by how Jessica has redefined what success looks like in her industry. Instead of scaling to maximum capacity, she's chosen to maintain relationships with her clients and work at a pace that allows for quality and connection. That's a lesson that extends far beyond cabinetry. For those of you sitting on a talent or passion that you think isn't a real business, I hope this conversation challenges that assumption. Sometimes the most fulfilling careers emerge from the intersection of what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what people actually need. If today's story inspired you to think differently about your own path, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, She Suite Society exists to amplify women's voices from all walks of life, proving that success comes in many forms. Until next time, this is your host, Dahlia, reminding you that your life is your message to the world. Why not make it extraordinary?